In the endless wasteland, a blazing sun hung high over the desolate expanse, casting relentless heat onto a lone figure lying prone in the sand. Their body was encased in battered, dusty armor, now bearing countless scrapes, scuffs, and the scars of survival. The armor was futuristic in design, yet looked as though it had withstood centuries of wear and tear, its metallic gleam long faded beneath layers of sand and dirt. Beneath the figure's visor, their face was smeared with sweat and grime, an outward testament to the long, hard journey they had endured across this arid land. And yet, now they lay still and unmoving, faint breaths barely stirring the sand around them. Beside them, a loyal companion stood vigil. The dog was a striking golden-furred retriever, with a thick coat that had picked up the color of the desert itself, a dusty, sun-bleached shade that matched the faded hues of the vast landscape. The dog had a rugged appearance, its fur matted and paws hardened by countless miles over rough terrain. Despite its weary look, the dog remained alert, its sharp eyes fixed intently on the human lying in the sand. Every so often, the dog's gaze flicked toward the horizon, scanning for any signs of movement, as if anticipating danger or hoping for help. But all that met its gaze was the endless expanse of sand, rock, and the twisted shapes of distant cliffs, each one a silent sentinel of this barren, forsaken land. With a quiet whine, the dog lowered its head, nudging the human's face gently with its nose. When that didn't elicit a response, it gave a few tentative licks, its warm, wet tongue brushing against the rough skin. Each lick was soft but persistent, carrying with it a desperate hope, a determination to see its human rise once more. Finally, the dog placed a gentle paw on the survivor's chest, pressing down as if willing them to breathe, to wake, to keep fighting. As the moments dragged on, the dog's worry grew palpable. Memories flickered in its keen eyes, recalling 1,000 shared moments. A drink from a shared canteen, resting by a campfire under the stars, the way they both had kept each other alive through the desert storms and unseen threats lurking in the darkness. The two were an inseparable team, forged in the crucible of survival. The dog had seen its human prevail against the odds countless times, and it refused to believe this was the end. Nearby, a dust-covered jeep sat parked at a haphazard angle, its tires caked with sand and cracked spiderwebbing across its weathered windshield. The jeep had been their lifeline, a testament to the many miles they had traveled. It was old, clearly salvaged from another era, yet its rugged design had held strong against the harshest of terrains. Sand clung to every surface, from the hood to the rusted grille, where dents and scratches bore witness to numerous encounters with the unforgiving wilderness. The fuel gauge had long since dipped toward empty, and supplies in the back were reduced to the bare essentials, frayed ropes, empty canteens, and ration packs that had been rationed down to the last morsel. This journey had not been easy, nor had it been quick. It was a test of endurance and willpower against a world that seemed determined to break them at every turn. A faint gust stirred the air, and a shiver seemed to run through the dog's frame. Its instincts were sharp, tuned to every shift in the environment, and it sensed the underlying menace of this endless silence. The cliffs, jagged and looming in the distance, seemed to cast long shadows that moved with a strange, foreboding quality, hinting at danger that could strike without warning. The boulders, scattered randomly across the sand like abandoned relics, provided precious little cover. If anything, they only heightened the sense of exposure, of vulnerability. In a place like this, there was no mercy for the weak or the weary. Yet here, amid this ruthless desert, was a scene of unexpected tenderness. The dog remained, unwavering, refusing to abandon the person who had been its companion through it all. It seemed to draw strength from the mere act of watching over them, standing firm against the desert's indifferent gaze. It didn't matter to the dog that the road ahead was uncertain or that the odds were stacked high. What mattered was the bond they shared, a bond that neither time nor trials could break. At last, as if responding to the loyal persistence of the dog's licks and nudges, the humans stirred. Their eyelids fluttered, and a faint gasp escaped their lips. Slowly their eyes opened, bleary and unfocused, taking in the golden fur that filled their vision. A spark of recognition appeared, followed by a weak but grateful smile. They lifted a hand, rough and calloused, and let it rest on the dog's head. A faint murmur escaped their lips, a quiet acknowledgement, a wordless promise that they would keep fighting. With a renewed sense of purpose, the humans struggled to sit up, leaning heavily on the dog for support. The dog, in turn, pressed its body closer, steadying them, offering its strength. Together, they rose slowly, as if the act of standing was a victory in itself. The jeep loomed in the background, a silent witness to their resolve, ready to carry them forward toward whatever lay ahead. The journey would be long, the challenges many, but with the companionship of a loyal friend, they knew they could face it all. And so, as the sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a fiery glow across the desert, the two figures moved together, a survivor and their steadfast companion, determined to endure whatever trials the wasteland would throw their way, bound by a love that transcended words and unbreakable in the face of any storm.